Good morning. Welcome to the corner. This is Coach K. Thank you for joining me this morning. I had a few technical difficulties that I was trying to get past this morning, so I apologize for running a little bit behind. This week, our goal is to talk about anxiety as well as answer some more questions that you guys have sent in about relationships. Okay. It's been a year, roughly a year, more than a year, or well, right at a year, I guess, the middle of March, that our lives changed. Um, what I want to do today is I'm going to go through some screens that I use in therapy that help people understand if they are anxious and or how anxiety is impacting their body. Okay. But think about how your life has changed in the past year a lot, okay? And think about what it feels like, what it felt like a year ago to be told about things that you could not do, places that you could not go. If you went outside, you could not go outside and interact with other people. You couldn't go outside and interact with people without a mask. You Places closed down. There were just certain things that you couldn't do. And although these social media is great, these platforms are great, what it does not allow for is physical touch, physical contact. Physical contact is very, very, very important to the body. There are some old research studies where um, you couldn't do this research today. Obviously, it would be unethical, but there were children born, and there were a set of children who were basically they were fed, clothed, diaper change, put back in the crib, and there were other babies who had the holding, the nurturing, the cooing, the making faces with each other, the interaction, touch, right? And some of those babies who did not have the actual touch and interaction failed to thrive, um, and actually passed away. So think about the past year and how isolated you may have become. So work for some people, well, for all people in most cases, for a lot of people, work went away. So you didn't have the social contact of work. Even if you hated work, it was still a place to connect with other people. Okay. So work was compromised. For some people, you worked at home. And I guess for some people who were having difficulty with people that you were working with at work, this might have been a relief with a two-edged sword. So you got the relief, but you also got the isolation of being at home and not having that contact. Perhaps you have family members whose health was compromised, so you did want to see them, but maybe their immune systems were compromised, or there were other reasons that you felt unsafe about putting them in danger, putting yourself in danger. People had to find their bubbles, so to speak, so the safe space for you to connect with people. But imagine people who had their lives who were very social. Maybe they were in a gym group, they were in a walking group, they were in a book club, they were big in their faith, so they did a lot with their faith base. If that was a church, if that was being a part of some type of volunteer organization, whatever that was, but it did involve being connect, excuse me, being connected with other people, and all that changed. All that got compromised. Traveling got shut down. So isolation is one of those. It was a big impact. It still is a big impact from COVID. And the more isolated that you allowed yourself to be, even if you didn't choose to do the things that you could do. So it's not ideal. It's not what you wanted to do. But even not doing the things that you could do with the platforms that we had, or maybe you go visit people and you sit in the driveway, Um, you do the potluck Zooms, you find the other ways to connect. It's great and it'll do for now, but it still was not the same. So that in and of itself also caused anxiety. The other thing that happens is look at what happened to your relationships. For some people, this isolation with your spouse, this isolation with your children, not having a place for you to escape, not escape like, at least I hope not, that you're trying to run away from home every day, but your life and your world became very small, especially if you started working at home. So everything was at home. Your work was at home, your family life's at home, your funds at home, everything's at home. And that's hard, especially hard if you don't have boundaries. It's hard when to kind of separate work from family. It's hard to include time with friends because everything is just your world has just gotten so small. Work, everybody doesn't like work, but let's think about some positives of having a different environment to go to, different people to interact with, different surroundings. And I hope that for most people that's more of a positive experience than it is a negative experience. If it's more a negative experience, then you need to make a decision about what you want to do about that. Okay. But COVID definitely made everything a lot smaller. It made everything a lot more compact. And for some, you might say it made things faster because when everything's online, it's not necessarily an hour for lunch. You get to leave a building, you get to take off, but once again, you're still at home. So anxiety has definitely been an issue that I have seen increase over time over this past year, and people not really knowing what to do with those sensations in your body. Okay. But anxiety produces sensations in your body. So imagine that type of isolation, imagine having that type of anxiety, and imagine still trying to be a mother, a wife, a husband, a father, and maintain that relationship. A lot of things that I've seen in the last year are things that used to just get on your nerves a little bit about your spouse or your partner or your boyfriend. Now, in the last year, they are absolutely magnified. So, it used to call on a scale of 1 to 10, the irritation that used to be caused might have been a 3. But because of all the other things that's going on in your life, because of the other feelings that you are probably not acknowledging, what used to be a 3 is now a 10. Or on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 15. It's not supposed to be a 15 on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. Now, some of that is you are getting to know people um, when life is happening. Does that make sense? You are getting to know people and you are around people when life is happening to them. Life is happening to you. Life is happening to them. What do I mean by that? I mean that there are situations happening beyond everybody's control. Now, that's a very good indicator. Okay, that's a good thing you want to see when dating is what happens to people when life shows up, right? That's one of the things that we've talked about. I had a very good question that came in that I wasn't able to get to last time. And just as a reminder, I'm going to go over that question, but it said, let me get to it. We talked about real love or the idea of love. And I wanted to remind you that in your life, there's only one big G. There's only one big G. And, sometimes this whole COVID thing maybe helped you realize where your big G was or where your big G wasn't. But hopefully, your big G, God, your relationship with God, number one, was not with the other person that you were in a relationship with, or that your sense of spirituality didn't run through this other person that you were in a relationship with. That's not how you want to do that. Another good question, as it relates to anxiety, we're relating this to anxiety. Some people are really anxious about how you start a relationship. The question was, how do you develop a relationship with someone in which you are interested? Do's and don'ts of first dates or even interacting with them the first time. Okay, so let's think about anxiety. Okay, and let's think about emotions for a second. So the question is how to develop a relationship with someone in which you are interested. That's not really the issue. Okay. The issue that's causing anxiety in that situation would be what you're saying to yourself about developing a relationship with someone, if that makes sense. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look too forward. I don't want to look too easy. I want to look like I have all my stuff together all the time. I want to look perfect. I got to look cute all the time. I got to look handsome all the time. Okay, that's where you're getting anxiety from. It's not about meeting. You meet people every day. You meet new people every day. Well, at least when the world was normal, you were meeting people and talking to people, new people possibly every day. So it's not what's happening. It's more about what you're saying to yourself about what's happening. But this is a good question. Now, remember when I said the other week about dating and how you date? That is how you answer that question. How do you develop a relationship with someone that you're interested in? You take the time to date them. You do not fall in love with love. You do not fall in love with potential. You be realistic about what you see. You take time to gather information. You take time to see if this person can be a companion, a friend, a lover, if they're a man, if you're looking for a wife, if they can be a helpmeet to you, if they're a husband, are they a protector, provider, a lover, a leader? If this is a male looking for a woman, can you guys communicate? Okay, do you communicate with empathy, compassion? Is there active listening? Do you know how to give kind words to each other? Do you know how to build each other up? This is how you start a relationship. It's time, and it's small increments of time that build on each other, that allow you to get to see someone in different elements. You get to see them as life happens to them. Okay, so that's been some of the issue that's happened over this past year in relationships too. You've gotten to see what happens to people when they have to manage a whole lot of things that are out of their control. That doesn't make them a bad person. It may mean that they need some help, they need some assistance, that they can't manage a relationship very well, while there are also a lot of things in their life that they feel are out of their control. That's information you need to know if you're trying to have a long-term relationship with that individual. Okay? Let me, okay. Yeah, that's information you need to know. All right. Do you share the same spiritual foundation? So, or is that spiritual foundation compatible? Everybody has to work out their relationship the best way you can work out your relationship. As a therapist, I tell you that there are healthy things in a relationship, there are unhealthy things in a relationship that you need to look out for. But everybody does work out their healthiness um, in the context of their own relationship, if that makes sense. We can talk about more about that later. Um, yeah, so dating, you have to take time to date. So in our last few minutes, what I do want to do is I want to give you some questions to think about. As you know, I will have upcoming webinars and I will have support groups related to anxiety and stress and the management of anxiety and stress. But what I did want to do today, there are two assessments, two screens that I generally use. And I want you to take a moment, and if this is you, if you are honestly think that you have issues or you are preoccupied with these types of feelings for at least 2 weeks, then I would encourage you to see someone. I would encourage you to see the webinar. I would encourage you to join the support groups, because remember my second tenet. My second tenet is how you treat yourself, which means if you know that you're not feeling well, if you know there's something in your life that's not going well, that you are walking around in a distressed state, you have to own that now and you need to do something about it. It is not fair to you to continue to walk around in that state. Okay. So here are some questions, for example, that I'd like you to think about. Number one, do you feel nervous, anxious, or on edge more often than not? Let's say it that way. And think about the last, we'll say 2 weeks. Did I say 2 weeks, 30 days? Are you more on edge than you are at peace? Do you find yourself worrying about a whole lot of stuff, worrying about things you can't control? And it's the type of worry that keeps looping, worry that keeps coming back over the same thing. You keep rehearsing the same thoughts over and over, over and over. You're rehearsing the same thoughts that produce worry about a lot of different things. Do you have trouble relaxing? That's a big one. Remember when I said last week that you cannot go to a store and pick up another heart, some more lungs, another liver, another stomach. You can't go pick that up. How you take care of this body, because you only have one, how you treat it is important. And I just want to continue to encourage you to do the best by the one body that you have. Okay. Is it hard? Are you often restless? Like, are you busy? You just have busy energy and it's difficult. If you sit down and try to relax, you feel guilty or even shame for some people. Okay. Do you have a feeling of dread a lot? Are you waiting for the other shoe to drop? That there's this sense of dread that you're waiting on something bad to happen. Okay. These are things that are related to anxiety. Do you often become easily annoyed or irritable? This is something to think about. Think about, like I said before, how I started this, how COVID has impacted these types of symptoms in your life and how they may have impacted your ability to have healthy relationships over the past year if you have these types of symptoms coming up. Do you have physical symptoms in your body that manifest in ways that cause you to have difficulty breathing? To notice that you have a racing heartbeat that causes you to feel dizzy or lightheaded, or cause you to feel have difficulty sleeping at night? Is there a fear of losing control, a fear of dying, any other type of phobia running around in your life? These are things that you have to pay attention to. How do you do that? By having, remember, number two tenet, having a relationship with yourself. That means you are mindful enough and aware enough to pay attention to your self-talk. What are you saying to yourself throughout the day? What is the tape that you are running? Your body reacts to what you say. It reacts to what you say. I did not say it responds. It is not responding. It is going to react to what you say. So your thoughts lead the train. So what are your thoughts setting your body up for? Okay. Every one of these symptoms, feeling on edge, racing thoughts, literally sweating. I've had clients who are so anxious, they literally break out into a sweat because they work themselves up, and the thoughts that they are rehearsing all day, it's like standing in a corner, just hitting yourself in the head with an emotional 2x4. That is not how you have a healthy relationship with yourself. Now, imagine doing that, and you're a mother, you're a father, you're a sister, you're a brother, you're a husband, you're a wife. You're trying to manage your relationship. You're trying to be a parent. but all day you're in the corner beating yourself in the head with this type of language, not being able to practice compassion or empathy with yourself. Okay, that is a problem. That is a problem. Okay, so thank you for joining me this morning. Again, our time was cut a little short because I had some technical difficulty at the beginning. Stay tuned. I will talk to you guys again Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Join me in the corner Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We will continue to focus on anxiety. We will continue to answer some more questions. Hopefully, I get to a few more questions that you guys send in. So continue to send those in to me. And I will see you on Wednesday. Hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.